Hare Krishna, devotees, welcome to Shloka Day. Today's Shloka is Shloka number 17 of chapter 18. Yasya naham krito bhavaha
Yasya naham krito bhavaha
buddhiryasya na lipyate
buddhiryasya na lipyate
hatva pisa ima lokan
hatva pisayima lokan
nahanti na nibadhyate.
nahanti na nibadyate.
Word for word meaning, translation, and purport by His Divine Grace. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Yasya,
Yasya,
one whose,
one whose,
na, never,
never,
ahankritaha,
aham kritaha,
of false ego,
of false ego,
bhavaha,
bhavaha,
nature,
nature,
buddhihi,
buddhihi,
intelligence,
intelligence,
yasya,
yasya,
one whose,
one whose,
na, never,
never,
lipyate,
lipyate,
is attached,
is attached,
hatva,
hatva,
killing,
killing,
api,
api,
even, saha,
saha,
he,
iman,
this,
lokan,
world,
world,
na,
never,
hanti, kills, na, never, nibadhyate,
nibadyate,
becomes entangled.
entangled.
Translation: one who is not motivated by false ego,
One who is not motivated by false ego,
whose intelligence is not entangled,
whose intelligence is not entangled,
though he kills men in this world,
though he kills men in this world,
does not kill,
nor
is he bound by his actions.
nor is he bound by his actions.
So Prabhupada writes in the purport, in this verse, the Lord informs Arjuna that the desire not to fight arises from false ego. Arjuna thought himself to be the doer of action, but he did not consider the supreme sanction within and without. If one does not know that a super sanction is there, why should he act? But one who knows the instruments of work, himself as the worker, and the Supreme Lord as the supreme sanctioner, is perfect in doing everything. Such a person is never an illusion. Personal activity and responsibility arise from false ego and godlessness, or a lack of Krishna consciousness. Arjuna, who is acting in Krishna consciousness under the direction of the Super Soul or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though killing, does not kill, nor is he ever affected by the reaction of such killing. When a soldier kills under the command of a superior officer, he is not subject to be judged. But if a soldier kills on his own personal account, then he is certainly judged by a court of law. So if the purpose is to please the Lord, then even apparently abominable activities in the eyes of the general public are not abominable activities in the eyes of the Lord, because it's done for the pleasure of the Lord. However, anything that you do for your own pleasure, that is going to be bound by karmic reactions. So that is the crux of Krishna consciousness. The crux of Krishna consciousness is that we have to work for the pleasure of Krishna. If we work for our own pleasure, then we are bound up in karmic reactions. So Arjuna's dilemma in the battlefield, should I fight or not? Should I kill or not kill? So Krishna says, if one doesn't have ahankar, if one doesn't think that he is the doer, then even if one acts, hatvapi sa ima lokan, even if one kills, na hanti na nibadhyate, one will not become bound and one will not be killing. So this is a commentary by His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. So in this verse a license for, is this verse a license for indiscriminate killing? No, not at all. So can a murderer drop a bomb and say, I am not the doer? So renouncing doership is not simple verbalization. Police will say, we will catch you, we will hang you, and we are also not the doers. In the name of saying we are not the doer, we cannot reject the responsibility for our actions. So it is we who are choosers, and it is we who are the doers. So we are responsible for our actions. But when we think that we are the only doer, then that becomes the illusion. There are generally so many conditions to be fulfilled before achieving something. Prior to this verse, Krishna said, one has to work according to prescribed duty. And while doing so, one should do that in a mode of detachment. Karyam ityeva yat karma niyatam kriyate Arjuna. So whimsical, non-scriptural, arbitrary action will cause bondage. And that is not the action scriptures recommend at all. Such actions are not licensed or rationalized by this verse. So any activity that we engage in, we have to be careful. It has to be something that pleases the Supreme Lord. If the activity pleases the Supreme Lord, then we understand that that activity will not bind us with papa or punya. But any activity that we undertake for our own personal pleasure or family pleasure or society pleasure or nation pleasure, then those activities will bind us. We will have to get the resultant papa and punya along with it. So a couple more commentaries we will read. Having described the obtuse intellect in the previous verse, Sri Krishna now describes the pure intellect. He says that those with purified intellect are free from the false pride of being the doer. They also do not seek to enjoy the fruits of their action. Thus, they are not bound in the karmic reactions of what they do. Previously, in verse 5.10 as well, he had stated that those who are detached from results are never tainted by sin. From a material perspective, they may appear to be working, but from a spiritual perspective, they are free from selfish motivations, and therefore they do not become bound by the results of karma. So externally, when you see another person, they also seem to be engaged in mundane activity, like shopping for groceries, cooking, going to work, earning a living, managing a family, giving in charity. So they may look like an ordinary person. But if everything that they're doing in the mood to please Krishna, then to you they may look ordinary, but in the eyes of the Lord, they are wonderful devotees. Rahim Khan Khanna was a famous poet saint during the Mughal period in Indian history. Although a Muslim by birth, he was a great devotee of Lord Krishna. When he would give alms and charity, he would lower his eyes. A sweet incident is related about this habit of his. It is said that Sant Tulsidas heard of Rahim's style of giving alms and asked him, Sir, where did you learn to give alms like this? Your hands are as high as your eyes are low. Rahim replied beautifully and in all humbleness, the giver is someone else, giving day and night. Meaning, who is the giver here? The Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is giving to you and me day and night. He doesn't pause at all. But the world gives me the credit, and so I lower my eyes. Understanding that we are not the sole cause responsible for our accomplishments frees us from the egotistic pride of doership. So we'll conclude with one commentary by His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. Enter the war, but don't let the war enter you, which means you should fight a good fight if it is for the pleasure of Krishna, but you shouldn't allow that fight itself to enter into you. How can one act without being bound? I mean, is there any activity that we can perform for which there will be no papa or no punya? This is Arjuna's essential question at the start of the Bhagavad Gita. And the whole Gita addresses it at various progressively higher levels. So the crux of the Bhagavad Gita is, if I perform my dharma, I'm going to end up committing so many sinful activities. If I don't perform dharma also, I'm going to end up committing sinful activities. So which is right? While addressing it in its last chapter, the Gita asserts provocatively that one without arrogance or attachment may do any activity, even kill, without getting bound. That means you can kill someone for the pleasure of Krishna and not have karmic reactions for it. Does this verse give a license for killing? No, not at all. It graphically illustrates the philosophical principle that unattached action is unentangling, a principle that intrinsically has nothing to do with killing. The point is that one can stay karmically safe even while entering into war if one does not let the war into oneself. That is, one doesn't let the passion, the fury, the frenzy, overall the attachment associated with war possess itself. In the sense, if you're in the mood of, I'm going to kill that person because he did such and such a thing, then that's not the right mood. So I am killing that person because that person is adharmic, and that's what the law of the land requires, then there's no karma for that. Or here in this case, the law of Krishna, because ultimately the law of the land is also secondary to the law of Krishna. Significantly, the Gita culminates with the best recommendation for karmic safety, which is the 66th verse. Surrendered service to Krishna. For he, being the Lord of everything, including karma, can indemnify one from all karmic reaction. So the only person who can excuse you for all your karmic reactions is Krishna. Arjuna's response reveals his consciousness. I will do your will. In 1872, Karishye Vachanam Tav. Thus, his focus is not on fighting, but on doing Krishna's will, which in those specific circumstances happen to be fighting. So it is not that Krishna's will is always about fighting, right? Krishna's will is also to love one another. Krishna's will is also to respect one another. Krishna's will is also to be compassionate to all Jivatmas. And sometimes Krishna's will is to fight and keep dharma alive. So this shows that he didn't let the war enter into him. Rather, he let Krishna enter into him and take center stage in his heart, thereby identifying himself more as a devotee than as a warrior. So externally, Arjuna was a warrior. Externally. Internally, he was a great devotee of the Supreme Lord. Like Arjuna, we too may have entangling duties akin to wars, which means we may have a lot of responsibilities that may contradict each other, where we don't know what is the right decision to make. So a war inside our mind starts. What is the right thing to do? So we can enter them without letting them enter us. That is, we can prevent excessive attachment to them enter into us if we, by our devotional disposition, let Krishna enter and occupy our heart. Then that focus on serving him will, by his grace, not only protect us from bondage, but also lead us to liberation. So the essential mood is to, instead of letting all of these personal calamities enter our heart and settle in our minds, why not allow Krishna to enter our heart and settle in our mind? Because then directionally, Krishna will also always protect you. He always says he protects his devotees. So we need not have any doubt about it. So sometimes we may be confused about what is the right direction to take. You will be forced to make a decision. Make the decision and leave the rest to Krishna, right? Whatever decision, of course, the seniors advise you to take, then follow that. And the rest, leave it to Krishna. So that's the essence of this shloka, that someone who is detached from the results of his actions, where his intelligence is not entangled in his activity, he may kill, but he does not kill. And therefore, he has no karmic reactions based on his activities. If you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the bell notification. If you'd like to join our classes every day, please check the details in the description section of this video. We look forward to serving you.